Welcome to My Nudge Finance. This is our deep dive designed to really help you sharpen your understanding of the financial forces that, well, shape your life. We're diving straight into something that I think a lot of you probably feel. You work hard, you hear talk about the economy doing well, but does your own situation feel like it's really getting better?
Yeah, that constant feeling of pressure, right? Like you're running faster, but somehow staying in the same place financially. What's actually going on?
Exactly. And that feeling, it's so widespread, it makes you wonder.
Well, it's not just, a bunch of separate individual experiences. Today, we're really digging into the economic strain that the middle class is feeling. We've looked at several analyses, economic trends.
Yeah.
And our mission here is pretty clear. Dissect the forces at play and, importantly, connect it all back to you.
Absolutely. So the big question we're tackling is, essentially, is this financial pressure you might be feeling mostly about your own choices, your own situation? Or are there bigger systemic things happening that contribute to this widespread feeling?
That's the core of it. Okay, so where should we start? Maybe with one of the really big trends the sources highlight.
Let's do it. How about this divergence, this gap between how productive we've become and what we're actually earning?
Oh, that's a crucial one. And what's really striking is just how big that shift has been. Since about, say, 1980, worker productivity in the U.S., basically, how much stuff or services each worker produces.
Right.
It's just surged
Yeah.
massively. Think about all the technology, the efficiency gains. We're collectively making way more.
You see the charts and that productivity line, it just shoots upwards. It's dramatic.
It really is. But then you lay the wage growth data over that same period.
And it's almost flatlined. It's quite the contrast.
Stark. And the analyses we looked into, they suggest this isn't just some random accident. There's a perspective arguing it's, well, a consequence of how the whole economic system has kind of evolved.
Yeah, one analysis we saw, put it pretty bluntly, described the system as, and I'm quoting here, rigged to reward the top while keeping the middle class just comfortable enough to survive.
Strong words, definitely. But it points to this core idea. The value you are creating at work through that increased productivity, it isn't necessarily showing up fully in your paycheck.
So the benefits of making more stuff more efficiently, they haven't been spread out evenly.
Exactly. Imagine like a factory. They bring in new robots. Workers can now produce twice as much per hour. The company's profits might soar.
But the worker's paycheck,
Yeah.
not necessarily doubling, maybe just small increases, if any.
Precisely. That's the gap we're talking about.
And it's not just that wages haven't kept up with how much we produce. There's the other side of the coin, right? The cost of things.
Oh, absolutely. The cost of essentials, things you absolutely need.
We're talking housing, healthcare, education, the big ones. These aren't luxuries. They're the bedrock of a middle-class life.
And this connects right back to your daily experience, even if, the official inflation numbers seem kind of manageable.
Yeah, the headline number might be, say, 3%.
Right. But your personal inflation rate, when you look at your actual budget, it might feel way higher because the prices for those specific essentials have, as our sources say, really shot up.
Definitely. Housing costs in many areas are just, wow. Healthcare premiums, deductibles.
Education costs, college tuition.
They're consuming a much, much bigger slice of income compared to, say, our parents' generation. One analysis said these costs are eating up a larger share of your paycheck than ever before.
And that's where that feeling comes from, isn't it? Running harder, maybe working more hours, taking fewer risks.
Just to tread water.
Yeah.
Just to maintain the same standard of living. It really is like that treadmill analogy. The speed keeps increasing.
It creates a lot of pressure, a lot of anxiety for people. And when wages are stuck and costs are rising, well, what often fills that gap?
Yeah, exactly. Debt. People turn to debt. And the sheer scale of consumer debt in the U.S. right now is just mind-boggling.
What's the latest figure? Over $17 trillion.
Over $17 trillion.
Yeah.
And that's everything: mortgages, student loans, credit cards, car loans, the works.
And it's interesting how this debt is often framed, isn't it? The sources point out it's frequently marketed as opportunity.
Totally. Student loans, an investment in your future. Get that degree.
Credit cards. Oh, they're convenient. Build your credit score.
Car loan. Well, you need a reliable car to get to work, right? It's presented as enabling.
But the flip side, according to some of these analyses, is that instead of just being a stepping stone, the debt itself can become, well, like another treadmill.
With the interest payments being the chains, as one source put it. That constant drain on your finances just to service the debt you already have.
Think about student loans. For many people, a huge chunk of that monthly payment is just interest, especially early on. It makes it harder to save, harder to invest, harder to get ahead.
Right. Which brings up a really important question. Are these financial struggles happening just because people are bad with money? Is it all individual responsibility?
Well, personal finance habits definitely matter. Nobody's denying that. But the sources we looked at suggest a bigger picture. They argue that, to a significant degree, the system is designed to keep you there. Meaning in that cycle of stagnant wages, rising essential costs, and the need to take on debt just to manage. It's not necessarily a personal failing if you're caught in that dynamic.
It really makes you pause and think about your own situation, doesn't it? That
Right.
car loan, that mortgage, those student loans.
Yeah.
Do they feel like pure opportunity? Or do they sometimes feel like, well, like a weight, a constraint?
It's a critical question to ask yourself. And when you put all these pieces together, the wage stagnation despite productivity gains,
This relentless rise in the cost of essential.
and this pervasive, massive amount of debt,
Right.
the overall effect. One source just called it crushing the middle class.
It's a pretty stark assessment. But it resonates with what so many people seem to be feeling, that the way things are set up right now isn't automatically geared towards helping them get ahead financially.
Yeah, the idea that the system is not expected to save them, as one analysis put it. It won't just magically lift everyone up.
And this ties back to where we started, with that feeling about the American dream.
Mm.
If the basics, fair pay, affordable living, manageable debt, are under this much pressure,
Then that dream can start to feel less like a goal you're working towards and maybe for some more like a bit of a trap.
So, as you've been listening along, we really hope you're reflecting on this. Do these points, these trends, do they sound familiar? Do they echo your own experiences or what you see happening with friends, family, people in your community?
Because ultimately, this deep dive brings us to a pretty concerning central theme. The economic system, as described in these analyses, presents some really significant hurdles for the middle class.
Yeah, that persistent gap between wages and productivity, the climbing cost of necessities, the weight of all that debt,
Yeah,
it creates a serious headwind.
it really does.
So the thought we want to leave you with today, our little mind nudge, is this. Knowing this, understanding some of these wider pressures, what's one small but maybe significant shift you could make in how you understand your own financial situation this week?
Not necessarily a huge action, but maybe just a shift in perspective, something to reflect on or maybe dig into a little more detail about in your own life.
Yeah. We really encourage you to keep thinking about these ideas. There's a lot here. And just understanding these forces, we think, is a really vital first step towards navigating them better.
Absolutely. And we look forward to continuing these explorations in our next Mind Nudge Finance deep dive. We'll keep unpacking these crucial parts of your financial world.
And hey, if you found this useful, if it sparked some thought, please do subscribe. That way you won't miss our future deep dives. We're here to try and help make sense of it all.
One deep dive at a time.
I'll see you next time.